Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face podcast. This episode will consist of myself, Charlie Vale, at Chuck_Colorado on Twitter, and Chris, our lucha expert. He is also known as Just Another Pro Wrestling Fan on Twitter, and a friend of mine. And we attend many AAW shows together. If you're unfamiliar, AAW is a local promotion here in Chicago, and they mostly run out of 3 locations: a venue in Logan Square, Berwyn, which is a west suburb of Chicago, and then also in Marionette Park, which is a south suburb on the south side of Chicago. So we go to a lot of their shows. We have a blast. We're very blessed that AAW is our local promotion and our kind of our home promotion. They bring in a ton of talent. So anything maybe negative or critical that you might hear in this podcast, just know it's very nitpicky because AAW does a fantastic hell of a job. So we're going to be reviewing The Art of War, which is their show that took place on February 17th, 2017. And we'll also talk about how we got into AAW in general from the start. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining the podcast today. How are you?
What is up?
Nothing much, man. It's a beautiful day out.
It is a nice day in Chicago, Illinois.
We haven't not had one of those in some time.
Right. And kind of winding down from that great show last night.
Yes.
You
coming down from it. So let's talk about AAW. We're both local to the Chicago area. Tell me about how you were introduced to AEW and how you kind of stumbled upon it.
Yeah, so I heard of AEW. I want to say it was through a friend, and it was like because of a tweet of some sort.
Yep.
This was when I was coming back around into getting back into wrestling, and I had never checked out the locals, local promotions or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw a friend of mine. He's the one who he sent me the tweet. He's like, "Hey, bro, Samoa Joe's coming." And I had heard of Samoa Joe. I didn't know who he really was. But I'm like, I'm down. Like, it's at Berwyn. It was at Berwyn Eagles Club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and tickets were like $30 front row or something like that. Maybe 20.
Cheap.
Yeah. So it was like, all right, let's go. We went, and I was, I think it was an Art of War 2014, 2015 probably. It was Samoa Joe versus, he's a Canadian guy. He just had like issues with his visa not long ago.
Really?
The Walking Weapon.
Oh, Alexander? Josh Alexander?
Yeah. So they were the main event. And I didn't know anybody else. I think we were just there for Samoa Joe. And ever since then, bro, I've been hooked.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I probably since then I missed a few.
Mm-hmm.
But during the last year, like, I think I have not missed a show.
I think we were talking about that yesterday. I said that to you, where not a LaSalle show because they've expanded into LaSalle, but I think every show,
Berwyn or Marionette Park, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, you see the quality increases every time. Like, I was telling you, like, even when I think the card is like, I'm just gonna go because I support AEW and I like independent wrestling, whatever.
Right.
You still walk out as like, that was a fucking good show.
Yes, and 2016 was my first AEW show.
Uh-huh.
It was the Berwyn Eagles Club. I believe it was
Homecoming,
March.
right?
Yeah, it was Homecoming, correct. And Mick Foley was there. And this is, I just started watching Lucha Underground, I want to say, season 2. And Ricochet, who was Puma, and Jack Evans was on the card. And I'm not sure if that's when they just started bringing in like Lucha Underground talent, but I looked on this card and I wasn't too familiar with the indie scene. I've thus gotten more familiar. This is basically a year later now when we're recording this. But I knew the Lucha guys. I knew Mick Foley, obviously.
Right.
And there's like maybe one or two other guys that I knew from just other promotions. And then I actually was in line with you, but we didn't know that. We didn't know each other at the time, but I was standing
We knew of each other, but we didn't know each other. Right.
Exactly. Which is funny.
Yeah, like that. And I always bring up that, that show. It's when, so I had seen Drew Gulak probably in like previous 3 or 2 AEW shows before that. And to me, it was like, he wasn't a match opener. He wasn't really like, steady guy on the card or somebody that I would actually gravitate to.
Right.
But that day he went against Fitchett.
Yes.
And that was like wrestling 101. and more, right? I became a fan of Gulak that day.
Exactly. I think we were talking about that too. And Gulak probably used 25 submissions.
Right, and you would see Gulak, and he would come out like he's not, flashy or anything. He have, now with WWE, he has that, silver cape or whatever he wears.
And the space boots.
In the space boots, right? Yeah. His boots were ripped. I don't know if you remember.
I'm not sure what his boots look like.
They were black ripped boots.
Really?
You would see duct tape over them, and I always reference that match as one of the greatest things I've watched in AEW, just from a pure wrestling standpoint.
Yeah, and that was my first show and probably maybe the first match. They might have did a dark match before that, or not a dark match, but a tryout. Sometimes they do those tryout matches with guys you never heard of. But that was I couldn't have asked for a better introduction then into what AEW stands for and the type of talent they bring in.
It was Callahan versus what's his name? Ricochet, right?
Yes, it was Callahan versus Ricochet in the main event.
You can't ask for anything better than
No,
that.
I can't. I've never seen anyone more athletically talented in the ring than Ricochet.
Yeah, he's something else. And then Callahan is somebody that it's obviously a constant in AEW. He's the champion or whatnot, but championship or not, you just can't miss a match of his. He's great in ring, out in the when he cuts his promos.
Yep.
Video packages, he has it all. I'm glad to see this Sami Callihan, not what I caught in NXT.
Yes, the Salmon Crow. Right. I think and he's touched on this in the Cole Cabana podcast, which I'm pretty sure that you've listened to, where he's on it, but he really found himself again, and he has so much momentum right now, everywhere on the indie scene. We're blessed that we get to see a lot of his good stuff right now, because Chris Hero went back. Sami Callihan might go back. I think in that Cole Cabana podcast, it sounded like if he was given the chance, he would, and he would just do it a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So I think we should just appreciate that we get to see him wrestle a bunch of different people every different show.
Right now he's with Underground as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see where that goes. I don't think they have guaranteed a fourth season.
No,
I haven't heard anything it's official. I even saw a couple days ago that Vampiro is going to be working directly with AAA in Mexico. So I don't know what happens with that.
Okay.
At least for now, we got Lucha Underground on Netflix coming soon. So
yeah, season 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I gotta dive right into that. Yeah, and season 3, I believe, is on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have El Rey Network, I know that's something a lot of people struggle with, is just getting El Rey Network, and that's probably why it hurts them.
An unpopular service app that you could get to get El Rey Network. It's called Fubo TV.
How do you spell that?
It's FUBO.TV.
Okay.
And it's $9.99 a month. If you like soccer as much as I do, that's how I found out about the app.
Okay.
Because they have a bunch of soccer channels that you could, Fox,
right,
Bein Sports, whatever. So I was paying for the service, and then one day I was like, wait, this is El Rey Network on here. So I get a 2-for-1. I get to watch all my soccer, and then I also get El Rey Network. And it also has a DVR option that you could record the episodes, and they'll save it for 48 hours.
That's great. Yeah, and I was looking in the Sling TV before you told me about iTunes, and Sling TV has the option for El Rey Network, but I don't know if you can record. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to turn on Sling TV when the episode is on. I think Wednesdays it's on. So that was a little bit of a turnoff for me, but I'm just probably gonna spend money to get it on iTunes and just binge that.
I watched. I think I actually bought season 3 because I wasn't. For some reason, Wednesdays are one of the busiest days for me, so I don't get to watch it when it was going on live. So I ended up just I was so behind, and I just ended up buying the season on iTunes.
Right, and then you can watch it anytime when you have time. Mm-hmm. It's there. It's perfect. Great. So let's get into the show that we saw yesterday.
Okay.
AAW The Art of War. Today is February 18, 2017. We went to the show last night, the 17th. And expectations coming in the show. What did you think?
So immediately and I think I was talking to Jim, and we both agreed on the same things. Like there was not a title shot. Like no one was getting a title shot. It was gonna be the main event was gonna be this 3-on-3.
Yep.
There was no singles match with Callahan, right? Like we were just talking about him and how he's fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not gonna get to see him, go 1-on-1 and go ape shit on everybody, but yeah, that was a disappointing thing for me. I was like, I wanted to see a 1-on-1.
Right.
I know he had just wrestled Kongo Kong in LaSalle, and he won. I don't know the logistics. I don't know if it was like the Killer Cult came in and whatnot, but I know Kongo Kong had a 32 match winning streak.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I didn't know how they were gonna play that out. So
right.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But what happens, because we didn't see Kongo Kong last night.
No, we did not.
I was super excited about Hijo del Fantasma, which is King Cuerno and Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm.
I watched much of his father's wrestling, back in the day, but not him as much. I knew about him.
Okay.
And I really got to see him perform as King Cuerno during the Lucha Underground season. So I was super excited about that, and I'm always excited to see Low Ki. So Low Ki is a wrestler that I didn't know much about. Mm-hmm. Like I knew he existed and he had some injuries or whatnot.
Yeah.
And he he just showed up in AAW. I want to say about 4 to 5 shows ago. Right, as a surprise. Mm-hmm. That was it him versus Callahan, the surprise, or who was?
It was. I'm not sure what they call themselves, but it was Homicide Kingston, and then their third man was Low Ki. Versus,
that's right.
The Killer Cult.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do they call themselves? I can't remember.
Oh, I'm not sure what they call themselves now.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, and Low Ki to me was okay, so I saw him in a suit. He was fast, and it's it was something very different. So automatically, I'm all right, him versus Low Ki, King Cuerno, Hijo del Fantasma versus Low Ki. I thought it was gonna be, a show stealer. So it was in my expectation level from 1 to 5. I was I was a 3.5. I'm like, it's gonna be good,
right?
And it's AEW, so I'm not gonna be disappointed, But yeah, what was your expectation going in?
So before I say it, to your point, when you usually you say 3.5s could turn into 5s, right? Mm-hmm. So that's good. Yeah. It was a good 3.5. My expectations were, I'd say, right around the same. Mm-hmm. I know that there has been, I guess you want to say, more stacked cards, just in terms of wrestlers with higher reputation.
And sorry to cut you off, but when you said about there's been cards that more stacked cards, bro, there has been times that the card is so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. We're spoiled.
Yeah, we're too spoiled with AEW.
That's true, and a lot of those guys actually just recently went to WWE or NXT. Mm-hmm. So I guess when that happened, your Gargano, your Ciampa, your ZSJ is still around, but Ali, people like that,
Chris Hero.
Yeah, exactly, Hero. You're gonna have kind of almost that reboot period, which is kind of what and I wouldn't say they're in that, but just the cards when you first look at them don't just automatically send you into a markout spiral. But so I'd say mine was right around the same, but I just hadn't been I was always the show's always landing. I know every time you text me I say I'm traveling, but which I kind of am, but only once was out of the country. The times it was random. I was in Milwaukee or something, but they've always been landing on really bad dates. So I just hadn't been to one in a while, so I was just happy to really go. And then I knew we went with a crew this time. Yeah. So it was Jim, who's part of Two Heels and a Face, myself, you had friends, I had a friend, Greg Piattoni, who's been on the podcast.
Out of the people that we went with, do you know if we had first timers? Well, I mean, Jim came with a couple of people.
A couple of those guys, maybe all of them were first timers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the show previous to this one, we took we're gonna do GA. Mm-hmm. It's anywhere you sit is a good spot. I ended up buying 10 tickets.
Wow.
So and this is just me because people my friends they're yeah, I support your wrestling craziness, but I'm not gonna get in it. But the fact that it's at Bourbon Street and we've been to Bourbon Street before, they enjoyed it. It's like, well, let's watch wrestling and have a drink or whatnot.
Right.
So I had a bunch of first timers. And now, like, I have a group of friends that they're like, okay, well, we'll come out with, to the AAW shows. Like, this is good. So now they're turning into regulars. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's great. We're spreading the love of AAW and wrestling. That's awesome. So we both had moderate expectations. Mm-hmm. So let's get into just breaking down the matches, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on all of them. Right. We can just say a few different things, and then we can talk about the ones that we really, really liked. So the first match was Best Friends versus Besties in the World. So Best Friends is Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, correct?
Uh-huh.
And then the Besties in the World are Matt Fitchett and Davey Vega, former AAW Tag Team Champions. What are your thoughts on that? What were your thoughts on this match?
So I didn't know these guys were best friends. Like, I didn't know how they were going to come out with that. Even though it says it on the card, I didn't pay attention to it. I just looked at their faces. But yeah, I didn't know they were a tag team. Are they a tag team anywhere else?
I don't know. I didn't know. Uh-huh. I'm assuming yes, because if you usually have a tag team name, you've tagged somewhere before.
Right, but usually when people are tagging against, Vega and Fitchett, they'll make gimmick names or whatever just for that one match.
Oh, maybe that they did then.
That's but I mean, they had a whole performance where, like, after a certain amount of moves, they'll hug each other or they'll do best friend like things in the match, which it was pretty cool. I didn't know. The only other time I had seen is it Trent? His name?
Yes.
Yeah. It was at Win the City Classics. He went against Zack Sabre Jr. So other than that, I had seen a few New Japan matches of his.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, he's good. Like, I know what I'm gonna get. But with this combination with Chucky T, like, I think that was pretty cool. I was entertained by it, and I do love the Besties.
Davey Vega is extremely entertaining. You knew that they were going to work in some comedy just because Chuck Taylor and Vega are in this match, and I actually thought they were gonna. So the Best Friends won. Mm-hmm. The Best Friends won, and Vega. They're doing the heel and face tag team, right? They were doing the Cesaro and Sheamus before Cesaro and Sheamus were doing their thing. Uh-huh. So Vega obviously tried to. I'm not sure, he tried to do a move and he messed up and put Fitchett and compromised him, put him in an awkward spot, and then Fitchett got double teamed.
I think this is true. This is a build up because it has happened before
many times. Yeah.
Right, and I think because then even like Vega will do the tag team with Silas Young. They're in an event because I can't remember the storyline, but yeah, it's building to a KO and Jericho.
It is.
Breakup, yeah.
It really is. I really like this team because if I had to say I love AEW, if I had to have one criticism, I would say that there's not enough long-term, there's not enough in-ring storytelling and there's not enough long-term storytelling.
Okay.
And I know it's different with an indie promotion. You're not on TV every week like Raw, so you can't. But I feel like this is one of the maybe only existing really long stories in AEW. Like, I feel like they have been doing this. They've been doing it well, Fitchett and Vega, for a while. Like, they were a tag team, then they won the titles, and they dropped the titles. And you're right.
Now it's the breakup phase.
Exactly. Now it's the breakup phase. So, actually, Greg Piattoni, who is our New Japan Pro Wrestling connoisseur consultant on Two Heels and a Face, he really wants them to break up, and I thought it was going to happen last night, but he really wants a Fitchett singles push into like the Heritage division really, really bad, which I think is earned. So I thought that was going to happen. It didn't. I was still very entertained. I would not mind them. I would either way, but I think that I would love if they went into the breakup phase more, like you were saying, and just continued out that storyline, but the ending has to be good. If the ending is not great, and then Fitchett doesn't, I think Fitchett should benefit from it, even though I really like Vega, then I'm going to be a little disappointed. But I like how this is just consistently building on each other. Yeah. Like show after show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good match. It was entertaining, and like we'll see where the story goes after this.
Right. So next was DJ Z, who I found out actually is a DJ. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. I knew, like, I watched a little bit of TNA stuff, and he does. I've seen him
Okay.
But I thought it was part of the gimmick. I didn't know he was a DJ.
Mm-hmm. So, funny story. Greg, again, I'm mentioning him. I sat next to him the whole show, so he was talking to, and you. But Greg, we know a DJ named DJ Mark E. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Mark wouldn't mind me saying this on the podcast. That's why I'm saying it. But DJ Mark E, and he does Bulls and Sox games. He does the music, at timeouts and things like that. So promotional stuff. So DJ Mark E knows DJ Z, who actually is a DJ. Fun fact.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that.
And then he wrestled Connor Braxton, who came out with Scarlett.
And he didn't come out with the board, or the hoverboard.
I know, dude.
I was waiting for the music, the hoverboard, but apparently they dropped what's his name? Machete,
yeah.
Yeah.
Disappointing, no hoverboard.
Mm-hmm.
But because the song just goes perfectly with it. Yeah, they see me roll.
Right. Yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, this match was fine. DJ Z is really athletic. Braxton was a great base for him to jump on.
So Scarlett, like I'm confused about her, right? Like she's been of LA for a while. Like she's been in that, Machete, Braxton, and her, like they've been a team.
Right.
She don't wrestle much. She got that, one-off match in Raw a couple weeks ago. Well, probably about a month ago.
That was
now.
her, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did she get squashed?
Yeah.
By
Jax. Mm-hmm.
Wow, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, cool. So she had that, and it was the Raw right before last month's AAW show.
Okay.
So, when she came out, did a whole promo about, yes, it's me from Raw, whatever. And so she got introduced as, Scarlett from Raw last night. But yeah, I don't know, like, why isn't she wrestling? Like, AEW lacks women wrestling, like women's wrestlers. Like, they had Candice as a constant because Gargano was there as a constant, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they had the two girls that went up to NXT.
Kimber and Heidi.
Right. And it was usually a Kimber and Heidi, and like, it was just them three, Candice, Kimber, and Heidi, and then Jessica Havoc once in a while.
Right.
But now, like, we don't have a women's wrestling match.
No, we didn't. And I think that was another criticism, if I had to say. And believe me, I'm not trying to be a smart here. Like, we both love AEW, but we're also, no one's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that they use Shimmer's title on their shows, Shimmer's women's title, but they don't have their own women's title, and I feel like they don't have a division. So, and I feel in the past the women's matches especially have lacked any real direction. Yeah, it's just kind of been thrown together.
I mean, they tried. I guess I'll give them credit on building a storyline that was gonna be a bit lengthier. When what's her name? Not Candice. I would think Candice, but it's not Candice. Heidi and Kimber, right? Yeah. So Kimber turns on Heidi during the Windy City Classics, and it was supposed to be a long feud after that, but then they got called up. So then they just like kind of like, all right, let's do one last match. Okay. And we're gonna hug it out.
Okay, I take it back now. So I guess they attempted, right? Yeah. But I feel like they need that. They need that right now.
Yeah, even if they combine, I think if they combine, Summer Shimmer matches, during the AEW show, it wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. Why don't they just use Shimmer's just have Shimmer's talent on their shows, right? But maybe have their own belt, right? Their own women's belt.
Right. Like they could create a heritage type of belt for Shimmer. I don't know if they have it. I don't know much about Shimmer.
I'm not sure either. But I was thinking AEW's own women's title, and just use Shimmer's roster on their shows, and maybe just have like one AEW women's title match every time. So.
But I think the reason, and I thought about this, but I think the reason of them not having a women's title is because the women are eligible to win the other title, the main title.
Yeah, I like that.
So we had, talking about Candice, she came back last month and did a match against Callahan. Right. And that was pretty cool. Yep. But not to get off track. Mm-hmm. What match did we start with, or
so I believe DJ Z won that match, but that match was not advertised also, but it was still cool to see. Next was Matt Riddle versus the Ultimate Bro, versus Jason Kincaid. Never seen Jason Kincaid before.
Right, me neither.
He was like a little scrawny 170-pound mountain troll. Mm-hmm. Very different, very unique. when he came out first, he just stood on the top of the turnbuckle like a pencil and waited for Matt Riddle to come out, which is very weird. I thought this match had a lot of storytelling in it because Matt Riddle was like so almost appalled by how weird he was in the ring. So that was really cool. And I think Matt Riddle translates perfectly he translated so well from MMA to wrestling. It's awesome. Like his style is great. He just took the MMA style and became a wrestler. Plus, he just seems like a real down the earth cool bro to hang out with.
Right, for sure.
So I thought it was just really cool to see. And Jason Kincaid, I felt, was trying really hard to make an impression, and he was doing all these really weird, unique spots, but it wasn't bad. It paid off, right? So some of the stuff didn't really make an impact or work. One of the things that was cool was he shimmied up like one of those wooden poles and then jumped into the clothesline. And he was doing a lot of stuff like that, and some of the stuff wasn't really impacting, and some of it looked bad. But I can't. It was like A for effort. I can't fault him because it was his first match here. He probably wants more bookings here at AAW, so he was really going all out, and maybe like 50% of it hit. But I still think it was the right strategy in my opinion.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, him going for the weird moves, you weren't really sure about how it was gonna go down. You understood the psychology behind it. But sometimes he just wasn't executed because he was going for something pretty hard, right? Like
very hard stuff, right?
And so yeah, definitely A for effort, but definitely like it's somebody that I wouldn't mind, seeing more often at AEW and seeing like maybe go against one of the killer cults. They're kind of in that dark type of, So
yeah, I could see him and Dave Chris just being like a douche about how weird he is.
Yeah.
And then them playing off of each other. Whereas Matt Riddle was kind of like I saw Matt Riddle as like the jock in high school who was just like, what is this kid doing?
And
Jason Kincaid was like the geek in school, but Matt Riddle didn't do it in like a douchey way. But yeah. Anything else on that match?
No, I'm there with you. Matt Riddle, he's now constant with AEW, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
He had a couple matches. He had a couple months ago. Probably had a match against Jeff Cobb, which was fucking amazing. Another clinic.
Yes.
In the wrestling realm. So yeah, more of Matt.
Yep. So Riddle won with a submission move, but Kincaid got the please come back chant. So I think mission accomplished for him. Next was a match that a lot of people I thought was going to be better. It was Trevor Lee versus Matt Sydal or Sydal. Sydal. And it actually was for one half or both of the World Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, it was weird. And we've seen this before, right? Where there's either Trevor Lee is in the house or what's the name of his tag team partner? Everett. Because last couple of shows has been Everett and he actually came out yesterday. He was injured.
Evans, you mean?
Evans.
Yeah, excuse me. Everett is his actual tag team partner with the belt.
They won the belts.
But Jack Evans was going to be like a substitute partner, right? Right.
So Jack Evans is injured and he couldn't wrestle. So then it just became a one-on-one for the tag team titles. I wasn't feeling it.
No,
and I'm a huge Trevor Lee mark.
So is Greg, and I don't even know how to describe it, but they did a dance off at the beginning, which
Trevor is something that they does. Trevor Lee always does it, or Everett, they always try to lead it whenever they're in matches together, and I feel like they don't always need that.
No,
it works sometimes, and that's why it's funny because you had never seen it before, but now you expect it and. Here it comes, and it's just gonna be weird. I don't know. I'm over the dancing at the beginning.
Are you?
Yeah, if they skip a few shows where they're not doing it and they bring it back, and it's something different, something funny that I haven't seen in a while. Like, all right, that's cool. But
yeah. So I think that what you're trying to say is almost felt forced this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with this match. It was just really slow and not well paced, and I felt like it just kind of ended with like a fisherman suplex.
Right.
DDT or Brainbuster, and I don't even know if that's Trevor Lee's finisher or what his finisher is, but I remember after it ended, I looked at Jim, and Jim was like, "What was that?" Like we just expected something else.
I think I heard you saying like a fisherman suplex. Is that this finisher?
It looked like a fisherman suplex brainbuster. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but so Lee beat Seidel. Very disappointing though, and then I think that kind of brought the crowd down. And I think at this point, and I'm just being honest here, and I know that I'm being critical, and I might sound like an AAW hater. Trust me, I'm not. But I felt like at this point, the first half of the show was like really subpar. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, and so how I see AAW is like, post Ciampa now. Like so, when Tommaso Ciampa was there, like a huge mark for Ciampa, and he just brought a different feel to it. And after he's now he's at NXT, like the atmosphere feels a little different. Okay, and I don't know if you've seen that too, but. Like for the first part of this show it was weird. It was a little lower. Mm-hmm. Not enough enthusiasm from the crowd. Like they were into it, right? But not many like chants and it's like it wasn't a quiet crowd because it's never a quiet crowd. But it just felt like people were trying to figure out when was their time to really embrace the show, right? Because sometimes they'll start off with a kick-ass match that you didn't see coming. Yeah, and that fires you up, and then the way they structure the card is enough for you to wind down and then pick yourself up, so then you could get intermission. Right. But this time is like it was just a slow build, and I think this match that we felt as weird and not sure how to feel about it, it dropped the crowd. Yes. For what was coming next.
Right. So next was Low Ki. Mm-hmm. Versus say his name because I don't know how to say it.
Hijo del Fantasma.
Yes.
So we'll go AKA King Cuerno.
AKA King Cuerno, which I was really excited about. Mm-hmm. And I just all I wanted was a Cuerno suicide dive, and I got it because there's not as much room around the ring as there is with Lucha. So like Cuerno can really
because he could launch himself. I don't know how many feet apart from the ring, but. Yeah, there's limits within the barricade or whatnot with the AEW, but yeah, this was the one I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of it?
I think it was great. I was not like I guess I expect not that I expected, but like I expected a little bit more out of Low Ki, but I know he's coming from an injury. Okay, so that's great. Like 5-star match, like it's good, like what I expected. They didn't let me down, and I just hope that King Cuerno keeps coming back.
Yeah. I would love to see him come back. Another great lucha talent that AEW's brought in. I feel like at one point did they just start grabbing guys who were on Lucha Underground?
I think so. Okay. So the first that I know of was when they they started bringing Phoenix and Pentagon. Or Penta El Cero M.
Yeah, don't let them hear you.
Right. Like they were the first guys, and they saw that they were drawing in people. Okay. And, so they definitely started bringing more lucha guys over. They at least try to have one per show.
Right. So, I wanted to see him come back. I thought he did really well. He got the "Please come back" chant. Low Ki gave him props at the end. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see Low Ki because I haven't seen a ton of him, and I know he's been literally everywhere. And Danny O'Brien talks about Low Ki in his audiobook a lot. So it's cool just to see. Yeah. I actually maybe want to go back and listen to some of those stories. But Danny O'Brien talked about Low Ki a good amount and just the matches that he had with him and things of that nature. Yeah. So it's really cool to see this character brought to life now in front of my eyes, who I just heard on an audiobook because I've never seen his stuff. So I thought this match saved the first half, and I thought it was a great ramp up into what happened after intermission. So let's just go right into that. So intermission happened, then.
So who wins this match?
I apologize. Low Ki won this match. Low Ki wins. Good. Hey, way to keep me on track. But yes, so the two people who debuted lost their matches, Kincaid, Phantasma, but they both got the "Please come back" chant, and that's with your first match. That's what you want.
That's what you're shooting for, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So after intermission, Kingston cut a savage promo on the screen. Mm-hmm. He was talking about. So apparently, And
so to give you some context, right? Because I came in late after intermission.
Are you going to talk about his shoot promo or his work shoot promo, Kingston?
Right. So
let's talk about that because I wasn't at that show. So
so it was last month's show. It was a match versus. It was a cage match, I think. It was Homicide was in the match versus one of the Killer Cults, I believe.
Okay.
And long story short, the match finishes, but with interference from what's his name?
Abyss,
right?
Yes.
So Abyss comes in and interferes in the match or whatnot, and it seems like Abyss injures Homicide. So then, Eddie Kingston comes out and he's checking on him, but then he like cuts a shoot promo, right? Like you don't know, like at first you're like, oh shit, like he's really hurt, he's injured.
Okay.
And what's going on? And then Eddie's like, he's calling out for Danny Daniels, who's AAW,
the booker, promoter, or owner, maybe.
Yeah, he's calling him out and talking like cursing, talking at him, like talking shit at him, and it's like, oh, you fucking unprofessional people, blah blah blah. And so he storms out and leaves the crowd and this is the opening match. So then like, from the beginning, the crowd's like, "Oh, what the fuck is going on?" And it's when I had the first timers there, and they're like, "Oh, bro, like what happened? Like, is there a storyline behind this?"
And he didn't use a mic, right? So he was just yelling.
Right. He was just yelling and cursing people out. So then we get this promo before after intermission. So what goes down there?
So he was censoring himself at first, and he referenced how that he was yelling at Danny Daniels, and then he just started saying the F word, and then he just started saying the F word in the promo, but he went into a lot of stuff that I felt was very real. It was a very shooty promo again. He didn't really attack Danny Daniels or AAW. I mean, I believe he did, but most of the things that stuck out were attacking the Killer Cult. But he was talking about how Homicide was his mentor, and without no Homicide, there wouldn't be a Kingston, and how he's been off his meds, so he's dealing with depression and anger, and how now he's on TV now, I guess with TNA, that that's something that he thought he never accomplished. It was like almost like a short summary of his life and just all the shit he goes through. But he was just calling Sammy just real bad stuff, and like his little F boys, the Killer Cult. So it was just it was like, honestly, the combination of probably Low Key's match and this really picked the crowd back up. Yeah. And then it went straight into Zachary Once, who I was calling Pete Once, who looks like Pete Once, and the guy from Fall Out Boy, and Desmond Xavier versus Cage and Elgin. And that match was awesome. Right. That match was awesome. I got a really good footage that I can post on. I believe I did post it on Twitter, and Desmond Xavier and Zachary Once both responded to it, but I just want to go right into the finish. The finish was Zachary Once took a German suplex and then a vicious German into a net breaker from Cage, and then a powerbomb from Elgin after he took like 4 moves before that. So it was like overkill finish, but it was hysterical, and the crowd loved it. Yeah,
that see, and that, so I didn't know this Zachary guy before.
Neither did I. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, a new name on the card. Let's see what's up. But yeah, like, and so I have, Elgin and Cage. I'm like, they're bulkier guys versus like to what you would expect. Like, well, we know Desmond, like he's crazy athletic. Yes. And then this guy is also new to the card, and he looks slimmer, and you assume he's fast paced, trying to do crazy flying moves or something like that. So trying to see those two type of wrestlers go at it. Right. I was like, I was skeptical to see how that was going to turn out.
But it was the perfect match. Yeah. It really was the perfect match because, and this is the same, it's almost if you relate to WWE, it's the Kalisto Ryback combination. Like
Ryback, really?
Yeah, and let me tell you why. So they had good matches. They had decent matches in WWE. Not to bring up the big guy, but it's that same type of concept. Your high flyer needs to land on a huge base, right? Yeah. And when Elgin and Cage came out together, that was the most massive team put together I've ever witnessed in my life. They were huge and could probably crush my head if they wanted to. So they were catching and flipping and throwing Xavier and Wentz all around the ring, and they did one cool spot where Elgin picked up Xavier for a vertical suplex, and then they were tagging each other in, and they were
holding him up,
holding him up, switching back and forth. So like really cool stuff like that can only be done if those two, like you said, those two type of wrestlers are in the ring together.
Yeah.
So it was the perfect matchup, I thought. Abyss versus Kingston. I have a question from Jim, and I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Jim's question, he phoned it in via text. He goes, "What does anyone see in Eddie Kingston?" Jim is not a fan.
He is not a fan, and
so make a case. Do you want to make a case for Eddie here?
Yes, and
okay.
I don't know much about Kingston, right?
Okay,
my Kingston experience was AAW, and when I saw Kingston, he was in a feud versus Ethan Page for the title.
Okay.
And to me, like I was there to see other matches, like, and to me those were really downers. Like they grew on me eventually, but this feud lasted for a couple of months. So I was like, Eddie's like, he wasn't clicking with me.
Okay.
But once I got introduced to, Homicide and, it was Eddie and Homicide, and like, okay, I see what they're trying to do, character development or whatnot. Like now it clicks, it makes sense. And yeah, they're not meant to be liked. Right? Even though they might be in a babyface role, going against the super hated Callahan and his posse, they're still not meant to be liked.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right? But so Homicide comes out with his weapons or secret shanks and stuff. So everybody loves blood, right? Like everybody's like, oh, he's cutting them open or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you bring in Low Key also to the mix, and I'm like, all right, I really enjoy it. And then so I not just get captivated by Kingston, but it's now the storyline of, okay, they're going against these guys, and I don't know, like there's something there that like slowly but surely, like, okay, I'm on Kingston's side.
So you like the posse more than just
than him alone.
Individual.
Yeah,
okay.
Him alone was not clicking for me at all.
Okay.
But I know he's been in the game for many years. I was watching Road Diaries, the Colt Cabana, the Road Diaries.
Yeah, which I still need to watch. I want to watch.
So I have the first one and the Funny Equals Money, which is the recent one.
Okay.
I haven't watched the number 2. But in that first one, you see Eddie. And this is documentary the one with Daniel Bryan is part of that one.
Is he the first one?
Yeah.
I need to get
that.
I need to get
I'll let you borrow it if you want to have him.
We'll see.
But yeah, like I would see Kingston there, like, so I'm like, okay, so this guy. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so this guy's been at this for quite some time.
Right.
But the funny thing is that now that you mention it, like I saw Kingston back then as Kingston now. Like there's not much difference.
Okay.
In the character of who he's trying to portray.
Okay.
Right, so he's been constant, I guess, and now he's in TNA. So
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan, but I support him.
Okay. I think I'm with you with that. And character progression might be good or bad depending on your opinion, but I think Eddie Kingston is just really good at being himself. But is himself a wrestler that can get over, with some people.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Like, I think what you see is actually who he is, which is usually a good thing. But the fact that it's not clicking right away with some is a little sketchy. But so I guess my thing would be like props to him being himself and persevering for a long career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm just not sold. I'm not 100% sold.
Because I think my first cage match at AEW was Kingston versus Ethan.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just like that was the main event, and like Kingston by himself, I'm not sure I dig.
Okay.
But with his crew, and we still can't remember the name of what they call themselves.
Yeah, I can't remember. Someone help us out if you're listening. But really quick to touch on how the match ended, there was a tack spot. Abyss chokeslam Kingston onto the tacks after they were fighting in the crowd for a while, which they went right past us. I got some Abyss sweat on my hand. And then it went into the main event. So to answer Jim's question, actually, let's put that out to the viewers to answer Jim's question. What do you see in Eddie Kingston? Make a case for him. The listeners, excuse me. The listeners. Or if this becomes a YouTube video, you're technically viewing.
I don't know if I'm being recorded. I don't see the
camera. I'm not recording you right now. But yes, the listeners, good call. So let us know what you think about Eddie Kingston. Make a case for him. Love, hate. Either way, give him props for his hard work. But I would like to know your opinion, listener, on Eddie Kingston. So main event. This main event, let me just say that I personally think that Sammy could tell that during the first half of the show, the crowd was dead. Mm-hmm. And I think Sammy probably rallied the troops backstage, or maybe they all rallied each other. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give credit to any one individual. And they said, we're going to tear this house down. This was a 6-man tornado tag. I don't know if it was meant to be a tornado tag, but no one got tagged in.
Right.
It was just a massacre of bodies and spots and crazy shit. It was Rey Fénix, AR Fox, and ACH, current Heritage Champion, versus Killer Colt, which is Sammy, Dave, and Jake Crist. Mm-hmm. Madness, insanity, 1,500 bicycle kicks, super kicks,
right?
450 splashes, synchronized. Fénix, I think, hurt his wrist. He jumped on everyone. I don't even know what the move's called, but he was basically pirouetting in the air, spinning, and overshot the crowd and landed almost on the rail, on the gate or the guardrail. Insane. How would you describe this match?
It was more than what I expected, right? Because I told you, I wasn't a big fan of these, tag matches as a main event.
Right.
And there's no title defense. But yeah, I mean, you have ACH, you have AR Fox, and you have Fénix, right? Right off the bat, that to me is okay, that's going to be good.
That's an athletic team.
Right, the athletic team. But then you have the Killer Cult, who you fucking love to hate. They're so good.
Yes, correct.
They're so good, not just Callahan, but, everybody. Even what is it, JTG?
JT Davidson?
Or JT Davidson, yeah.
Yeah, their manager.
From him introducing them to, the whole thing, everything. That match had everyone in there for a reason, and and it fucking made it count. It was good. It was more than I was initially giving them props for.
Right, and I would just try to look for GIFs of this match on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
if you can. But there's no way to really describe it except just chaos and fury, and that's
the art of war.
The art of war. That was a war. That was the art of war. It really symbolized the entire pay-per-view, what the entire pay-per-view meant to be. And Fénix gets the pinfall on Sammy, right? Mm-hmm. So, predictions. Let's go back to the low-key match. An announcer came out and said that low-key, you're now a contender for the AAW Championship.
Yep.
Fénix now has a pinfall on Sammy. Where do they go from here?
If they want to prolong it, they could have a low-key and Fénix match, which I think will be great.
Number one contender?
Yeah, for a number one contender. But it's... So if we, really look at the thread of Sammy and Fénix, it is a long thread. Ever since back in that show that we were talking about.
Good call.
Where Sammy was doing the mask collector thing.
Right.
He took Pentagon's mask, and then that Bearwin show he had taken Fénix's mask.
Correct.
Abyss's mask, who's now Abyss is part of the Killer Cult here now. Mm-hmm. I think it will, if it culminates to Sammy versus Fénix. I want to say Fénix goes over and well-deserved AEW champion, because initially, I would never had thought that they would give a title to one of these considered lucha guys, because it's expensive to bring them from Mexico, this, that, and the other. But to some background on that, so Fénix stopped being Fénix and is now Rey Fénix.
Correct.
Left AAA, got his name, all the legalese in place. He's still part of the Lucha brand, the Lucha Underground brand, and he is now, I think he lives in San Francisco.
Okay.
So if as constant as he has been in AEW, I would assume that I wouldn't put it past AEW to make him champion in the next couple of months.
That was great. I think when Penta won the belt, no one expected it.
Yeah,
right? So
I lost
now it's kind of, it's possible for anyone, any of these lucha guys.
And then if we also go, also take another trip back to Logan Square Auditorium, Zack Sabre Jr. declared himself as he's been fighting for so long at AEW and had great matches. So he considered himself also like, I'm gonna come back and I want a title shot. But they also have, so then Elgin comes in and is like, well, if you think you're gonna get a shot, you need to get past me. So I don't know if they're going to continue that, right? And then now you have these 4 guys was Elgin and Zack Sabre Jr., Phoenix, and Low Ki, and dubbing themselves. Well, Low Ki actually got announced as the #1 contender, but these other guys who are top talent that could have possibly carried the title for a while.
Yeah, I want to point out that they didn't say #1 contender. They said a contender.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the way I heard it, unless you heard it differently. But so maybe they'll do a little 4-man bracket, or maybe they throw them all in one match, like ZSJ and Elgin, winner of that the same night faces the winner of Low Ki and Phoenix. But I think you brought up a really good point, and props to Sammy for doing this. I feel like he puts a lot of effort in everything he does.
Yeah,
he has his own promotion. He has a podcast. Like his whole personal brand is really good.
Callahan has a podcast?
I believe he does. I believe he does. Yeah. Let me. I'm like 90% sure. So.
Well, I mean, he has the pro wrestling. Is it Pro Wrestling Revolver or?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Revolver is his company. He sold me a couple of DVDs because he didn't have change supposedly. So he's like, I'll throw in this for you. I'm like, all right, nice. Thanks for the deal, bro.
Good guy. But props to him for. You're right. You made a great point with how long he's been Phoenix has been kind of chasing him.
Yeah.
That's to the point. That's to my point of my criticism of AEW is that there isn't long-term storylines. Mm-hmm. But Sammy does kind of have one with Phoenix.
Yeah.
Sammy with the Mass Stealer, and then the match where he won his belt back, Phoenix and Penta were in that match, which I didn't see. So he kind of does have already this built-in long-term storyline with Phoenix. So that would be cool to see Phoenix then beat a Low Ki, a ZSJ, or an Elgin, and then take the belt from Sammy. But either way, like Sammy is just, he can't have the belt or can't, but he's just always going to be awesome in AEW. So yeah, that was. It was a great show. I paid $20 for GA. AEW is really, I feel like they're very smart. They're very well run promotion, and I enjoyed everything.
Right, and now they just introduced the seating chart, so you get to pick wherever you want to sit.
Yeah, shout out to Ticket Leap.
Yeah, Ticket Leap.
Who's their ticket provider, or their you buy tickets off of a Ticket Leap kind of URL with AEW in it. So I don't know what the right word for that is. I should know. So yeah, any closing things or remarks you wanted to make?
Regarding the show, I mean, like I said, AEW never disappoints me. I've never been to, I've had front row, second row.
Correct.
I've been up on stage seats. Mm-hmm. And even GA, like no matter what price the ticket is, you're gonna get your money's worth and more.
100%. Yeah.
So huge supporter, and I think so. Just because we're talking about AEW, I think it also spoils us. I've been to other, indie promotions nearby, and like I don't want to. I go with that mindset of I don't want to compare this to AEW, but I still do to a degree.
100%. And
it affects the way I see things.
Right.
Like I don't want to do that because I know AEW has been doing this for a long periods of time, and they've tried different venues. They are always sticking with Berwyn as home. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a show in Rosemont this year with AEW. Yeah.
Where?
I don't know. Is Rosemont something? I don't know. But obviously, it's not going to be the Allstate. But,
yeah, I know. I knew that. But still, it would be cool to know where.
So they're expanding. They're trying to do things, and they're growing. And yeah, they spoiled me so much that anytime I go to another promotion, I'm always comparing it to, is it at AEW standard?
It's really true. I would agree with everything you said. I would say we are spoiled. Like, thank you if you work for AEW and you're listening to this.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for the class and the quality of product and the talent and the production value and
the staff, like, always super friendly.
Mm-hmm. There was a lady working the popcorn stand. Mm-hmm. She was popping more popcorn, so I came back, and then I came back later, and even though it's $1, right? Yeah. But she still wanted to give me the popcorn for free. I'm like, no, it's $1. But just like, you know, she wanted to do that. Yeah. So like anyone that they're. And I don't know if that person works for AAW or the bar, but either way, like
it's still part of the show, and
right.
It's great. Can't complain about anything really. Aside, we want to pick Nick and talk about long storylines or whatnot, but as a indie promotion, it's by far the best I've been to.
Yes, we are very fortunate to live in the area that we live in. Yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face. Before we go, Chris, shameless plugs. Tell the people where you are. I just want to touch on and say one thing. I'm really glad that we have you on and that you're contributing, because it's almost like the Two Heels and a Face expansion. Like we have Greg Piatoni, who watches a ton of New Japan and can educate me on that. And then you're a huge AAA Lucha, like CMLL. You have that heritage and that background. So I feel like we're kind of like dividing and conquering on all of our wrestling knowledge and things like that. Yeah. So
we need to get somebody from the European side.
Yeah, we need to get a British guy on the show or something like that. But yeah, tell the people where they can find you.
I am on Twitter at JP Wrestling Fan. Currently, I have JPWF, which stands for Just Another Pro Wrestling Fan. We're, trying to figure out what we actually are.
Okay. It takes time.
So yeah, it takes time. But for now, let's talk on Twitter, and props to AEW.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Yeah, we had a Snapchat filter at the show.
That's right.
Yeah, and Chris is a marketing guy and did a very good job of promoting the podcast. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Taking Snapchats, taking pictures, sending them on Twitter. Cuerno retweeted us.
Yeah.
Xavier and Wentz retweeted us. So thank you, wrestlers, for doing that. But yeah, thanks for coming to my humble abode and talking about some AEW.
Yeah, no, thanks for the invite, bro. Anytime.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this review of AAW's Art of War and for listening to the podcast. There was one spot I wanted to touch on before I go, and it was a very hysterical spot that made me chuckle. Abyss tried to throw a bag of tacks into the ring during his match against Eddie Kingston, and he carelessly tossed it, and the bag of tacks opened prematurely, so there was tacks on the ring apron before they were supposed to be, put onto the mat. And the crowd started chanting, "You fucked up," and it felt like to me that Abyss was pissed about it, because after he sprawled the tacks everywhere, he went back to the apron and started flicking off the crowd and chanting, "You fucked up," right back to us. So I just wanted to touch on that spot because I thought it was hysterical. It probably made me laugh the loudest out of the entire show. But please, if you are local, you're listening to this and you're local, please go to an AAW show if you can. They have been running them and expanded into LaSalle, Illinois, which is a good drive. Illinois has a lot of rural area, and it's going to take you a while to get out there if you're from Chicago. But they also run at least one show a month in either Berwyn, Logan Square, or Marionette Park, which is on the south side of Chicago. So please go to a show if you can. If you see us there, please say hi to us, Chris and myself. If you are at a show and we're running a Snapchat filter, please use it again, because I thought that was a really fun way for us to interact. And thank you so much for supporting the podcast. You can give us some love on iTunes with a listen, a share, or a heart. Give us some love on SoundCloud with all those things. You can give us a review on iTunes or subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter at Two Heels and a Face. We have a Facebook page as well. But most of all, thank you for listening, and we will hope you contribute to the conversation. So if you have any thoughts on Eddie Kingston, any thoughts on AEW, really any thoughts at all, please tweet us and we can talk about it. Thanks for listening.